Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be re-reviewing Oxenfree for the Nintendo Switch, this time with video footage, although I honestly don't think it really matters that much. I mean, I might as well keep on a roll with my re-reviews while I have a chance. My original review came out February 6th, 2018, and after 3 years, you want to know the real reason why I finally decided to re-review this? It's because as of April 14th, 2021, an Indie World showcase was presented on Nintendo's YouTube channel, and they announced that there would be a sequel to this game. So I thought, well, I liked Oxenfree the first time around. Let's play it again so I can get caught up on the characters and the lore and see if that'll help me appreciate the sequel whenever it comes out. So Oxenfree is a walking simulator that has elements of visual novels, but it's more so on the walking simulator part. The gameplay mostly consists of walking along very linear paths with occasional branching pathways, and pressing the Y, X, or A buttons to choose Alex's responses in the conversations, which hardly ever match up to what the speech bubbles give you, but I guess if they did that, then that would make the game less newbie friendly, and it also gives the game a chance for Alex to have her own personality inserted into the game. You also have instances where you'll have to be at the right place at the right time, or you'll have to use Alex's radio to tune into a particular radio station. These segments are okay, but I found that the radio sections were the most overused, although if you're playing them with the Switch Joy-Cons, they do a magnificent usage of HD rumble to give you a clue as to what station you should be turning on to, as a lot of times, with the exception of the tutorial, you have to guess what to go on, but hey, at least your hands are going to feel it when you're on the right track. The story revolves around a bunch of high schoolers who decide to go on a trip to Edwards Island, which is kind of an annual thing for them, and they want to just lay on the beach and have fun all night and not really think about anything before they have to go back to school. However, shortly after they finish playing a game of Truth or Slap, they hear some strange noises in a cave, and that's where I'm going to stop the story summary, because I think from that point on, it's best to go into this game as blind as possible and really allow the story to take you at your own pace. While these graphics are originally looking very primitive and ugly and kind of overly hand-drawn for my tastes, the power of the Switch does allow this game to pull off some really impressive moments later on. Nothing that's going to blow your mind by any chance, but it'll make you appreciate that this is on more powerful hardware for sure. The voice acting and the script is really well done. A lot of times it does feel very forced when adults try to write roles for high school characters, but in this game, the voice actors and the lines both work together in magnificent harmony to make it feel like these characters are having real conversations. The flow works really well, and it kind of sounds stupid when I word it like this, but there are times when the characters will like talk over each other, and the dialogue boxes will have to try to keep track of who should be talking, and they'll be shuffling around. And I feel like that's so reminiscent of how actual high schoolers talk, where they don't really have a pre-established flow with their conversations like some of us older people do. They're more of just like, okay, I'm a walking bunch of hormones, so I'm just going to say whatever comes to mind first. And it works a lot because you end up growing really invested in a lot of these characters, and the way that you treat them will give you multiple endings. Now, the multiple endings deal is nothing new. I mean, I've been playing Zero Escape longer than I've been playing this game. But in this particular game, there's sort of two ways in which the multiple endings are handled. Again, I don't want to really spoil too much about the story, but there's like mini alternate endings where you can choose how the characters turn out, but then there's also a true ending of how the entire thing wraps itself up. Now, you can get this in as minimal as 2 playthroughs, and this is where the game kinda can get annoying if you're a completionist, because the main story is ridiculously linear. There's only one moment in the entire game where you make like a shattering choice that's going to alter the narrative, but really all you do is you're asked who do you want to accompany you on a trip to a particular part of the island, and you can choose between three of the characters. But that doesn't really drastically alter the story, it just alters the conversations as you're walking along the path. So this is the kind of game where you're probably going to feel like you're playing Groundhog Day if you play this over and over and over again. Thankfully, there's a little bit of unintentional meta commentary that makes fun of the repetition, which I always appreciate because I love it when things are contextualized. Overall, Oxenfree is not a very hard game. It's pretty easy to figure out the solutions to most of the puzzles because they mainly boil down to either you haven't investigated something or if something is red, use the radio for it. There are a lot of visual trickery moments that might be hard for people that say have epilepsy moments or have light sensitivity, so I don't think this game would be for you. However, if you like a good, I don't want to say what genre this is, but it's not just a walking simulator. It has elements of like other stuff in it that makes it so that you want to feel invested in the conclusion, and you'll probably want to play the game again to ensure that the second time around maybe you can aim for the true ending if you're a minimalist like me and it's like, just get me to the good ending. I don't need to get every single thing, but just at least give me something. The music is, well, it's alright. It's a bit too synthetic for my tastes, but it fits the atmosphere of what the game is trying to go for, and it doesn't seem too over the top. Now, one thing that normally I would complain about in most video games, that for some reason it doesn't bother me as much here, is the fact that you can't turn off the voice acting, nor can you switch it to another language. In this particular case, it works really well because the game is all about listening to what the characters have to say and choosing an adequate response. So I feel like if you're responding to silence, that's not a very logical thing to do. So it feels like the player is immersed in the conversations, not only by participating, but also listening. And believe me, there are times where you can answer prematurely, and that might actually affect the outcome of the ending. So it's up to you whether you want to be a typical like talk before you think teenager, or if you want to actually hear out the dialogue and see it to its conclusion. That does at least help with repeat playthroughs, in my opinion, because sometimes when you're hearing the same old dialogue with very, very, very little change in terms of what the characters are saying, sometimes it helps that you can just move Alex to the next point and the characters will have to awkwardly shimmy along. Sometimes the AI can be a bit weird, like the characters will just stand in place and then they'll think, oh shoot, I should be following you, and kind of get to it after a while. But I think Oxenfree is the type of game that will work really well for people that don't like reflex heavy gameplay, or if you just want a nice simple story that only takes about between 3 to 5 hours to complete the first time, and maybe more like 10 hours if you want to be a completionist slash get the good ending. However, if you're not a fan of walking simulators, then you're probably not going to like Oxenfree. There's not really much that sets it apart from that genre besides the interesting stuff that happens after you go into the cave. So I think you should give it a try. I think if you're a fan of visual novels, then this is well worth the price, as the voice acting and script alone is so phenomenal. And I particularly love the twists after you get past this campfire scene. But for those of you that want more of a game to play, you can easily skip Oxenfree without a second thought. So with that, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, or critiques, or if there's anything I left out, please let me know in the comment section. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and I hope there's at least one of you that's excited for Oxenfree 2 as much as I am. Bye.
Sure, we'll grab ya if we find any,
Island Bigfoots?
Island Bigfoots. Exactly.